right, and just as promised, Alan Adler is back with us once again, this time for a Truck Tech highlight. And Alan, I gotta know, this is the final Truck Tech of the year, right? Or do we have a special episode next week as well?
No, today's your special, Kaylee. You gotta watch, okay? We saved something special for this show. Well, first of all, this is the end of the first year of Truck Tech on Greatwaves now at the 40-some episodes. And, I guess I never realized, that this would be so much fun to do. But it is, and we've had a lot of fun getting great guests and that kind of thing. Last show of the year today, we'll have Richard Bishop, who's a consultant to a number of autonomous companies, but also a writer, a contributor to Forbes, did a terrific piece a few weeks ago, and something I was vaguely familiar with, but it was the use of autonomy in agriculture. So we'll chat with him about that. And then at the back end of the show, we have about 11 minutes, and this is the special part where I saved this from our trip to Germany in September, and it was the ride and drive in the Mercedes-Benz Unimog. For those of you who don't know what a Unimog is, we'll be able to show it here in a moment. But the thought is that this is the truck that basically makes a Hummer look wimpy. This truck does amazing things, and it's really intended for exactly what you're seeing, which is covering ground that others can't cover, or at least not very easily. It's used heavily in fire and in disaster relief and things like that. It's been around a little over 75 years. It's been with Mercedes-Benz since 1951, and it is really, really something. We had an opportunity when we were in Germany in September to take a ride and to just experience this thing. It is a beast. So technology-wise, maybe not the highest end tech, but it is one badass vehicle.
And Alan, when we look at the Unimog, where do we see these? Are they just strictly in Germany, or do we see them scattered throughout some of the parts of the globe?
Well, Anthony, they make about 20 of them a day, and they all are all over the world, including with our former California governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger. He actually has now put his version. He has a 1977 Unimog that he's just put up for sale. He is also kind of the impetus behind General Motors when they bought the Hummer brand name in the early 2000s. It was his impetus that led them to sort of do an H2 model, which is, of course, long out of service now. We're onto an electric powered Hummer from GM, sold under the GMC brand. But interestingly enough, he's had this vehicle for quite a few years. Not sure how often he drives it, but it's kind of like him, kind of a tough guy and a very tough vehicle. But we did have some fun getting to do that in Germany. I thought we'd share that. The trips that we've taken, the interviews we've been able to do this year, are really gratifying, for the first year of a show. And we hope to be able to do a lot more of it next year.
Alan, in our FreightWaves Now wrap-up episode, which is going to air tomorrow, we have you guys in from our communities pieces, and I did kind of a really kind of short synopsis, top story, and then our winners and losers of the year. But I want to do a little bit deeper zoom in with you right now, talking about Truck Tech, because it was the first year of the full show, and you had this really successful transition from a newsletter with tens of thousands of subscribers into now this visual platform. Was it difficult to go from a reader base who was very editorial based, from people who are used to getting that in their emails, to now folks who are watching you on TV and listening to you on podcast players? Or did you feel like it was kind of a seamless audience transition and people were getting a little bit more now that they're seeing faces and hearing voices attached to Truck Tech?
That's a great question. I've always enjoyed public speaking, and I know a lot of people don't. You guys standing up there, you handle it pretty well every day. I've always enjoyed it. And so having the opportunity to do a podcast, a video podcast, has really been great. I think it layers onto the newsletter very well. We rarely will use the same content. I mean, each week the show is one thing and the newsletter is another. And there's probably been a few intersection points here and there, but by and large, they are separate, and they are intended to sort of inform and let people, what do they call it, how they take in their content. Some people really enjoy podcasts and keep them on all the time. Other people still get a lot out of newsletters. So, I guess this whole idea of communities, which, I became a part of a community this year, really is something where the opportunity to do both, and they are very different, but they are also, equally gratifying because, I started, as a writer, 40 some years ago, still do that every day. But this idea of growth for me personally, as well as I think to bring some fresh content to FreightWaves, it's really been great.
And Alan, as you look back at the most recent year in 23, are there any topics or any stories that jump out to you? And are there any things that you're looking forward to in the next year?
Yeah, Anthony, back in early days, we were at the ACT Expo, or Advanced Clean Transportation Expo in Anaheim last year, and I took my little vlog kit with me and managed to get a ton of work done, just me. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to do this again, maybe with some help from the shop there. In the show will be in Las Vegas in May of 24. I think we can do so much great work, and that was an hour-long show. Most of them are, 26 minutes or thereabouts. And, had 3 separate interviews and just really able, with a live open and that kind of thing, kind of advanced a little bit beyond what I thought was maybe possible for us. And, now, we're getting ready to go to CES here in January, and we've already got the potential for 3 shows lined up and, collected anyway in 3 days. And I just think that not only do the companies that we cover and the individuals that we interview like that, because they do understand that people consume this stuff, but I think it really just shows that we're able to communicate and to go back and forth with people. Interviews aren't that different when you're doing them, over Zoom or on the phone. But when you're doing it and you're able to have a true conversation with somebody, I think it just enhances the whole process.
And Alan, the sky is the limit for us when it comes to truck tech for 2024. So knowing that sky's the limit, who's your dream guest that you want to try and get on the show next year?
Wow, that's a tough one. I think we'll be okay. We're going to probably bring some people back that we've had before. We started the show, Kaylee. Our first guest was John O'Leary, the CEO of Daimler Truck North America, and that was a hat tip to Andy Johnson who helped arrange that. He wanted us to have a great kickoff kind of thing. I think that the most watched show by far that we had this year was our exclusive interview with Steve Gursky, who is now the CEO at Nikola. And I think I'm hoping that in the new year we will, even though Too Simple has kind of left the building in terms of the U.S., I'm really hoping that we'll be able to catch up with Sean Liu and the CEO and have him on the show. We haven't had him yet. Hoping we can do that in when things are in a position where he feels like he can do it. We've been in communication with them. I feel like there's so much that is out there, and it's like, oh my gosh, we have a whole new year, and what are we going to do? The other thing, and again, I was thrilled that we have sponsorship next year from Volvo Truck for, I think, 8 months, which is awesome, and I'm really sure we'll have some of their folks on from time to time. But really, I think if we could just stay on top of the areas that, we claim expertise in, whether that's autonomous trucking or whether that's electrification or whatever it is, but it's a great way to follow so many things that maybe we don't get to necessarily write about all the time. We've had the Autonomous Vehicle Industry Association on and things like that. We're not always going to cover them on a daily basis, but the opportunity to catch up with them and the people that are starting to make an impact in the advanced tech areas, it's good stuff. I think we can do a lot of new things next year.
Alan, congratulations on the first year of Truck Tech. Thanks for joining us for the second time this morning, and we're certainly looking forward to your episode later on today.
All right. Thanks, guys, very much. And, oh, by the way, I was a little premature with Merry Christmas. This time we'll add Happy New Year.
There we go. All right, Alan, thanks for that. Right now we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be back with more FreightWaves Now in just a few minutes.